Today we are going to be talking about Gladys Aylward. In the 1930s, Gladys felt like the Lord was calling her to be a missionary in China. When she went to China, Gladys helped stop the practice of foot binding and led over 100 orphans away from an ongoing war.
Although she had little recognition, Gladys was a light to others. Her love for the Lord and admiration to achieve her dream is an inspiration to many.
The article Who Was Gladys Aylward by Linda Finlayson informs the reader that Gladys's story begins in Edmonton, London in 1902. She was born into a working-class family, and at 14 years old, she stopped school and began to work as a parlor maid.
When Gladys got to be in her 20s, she attended a revival meeting and left a Christian. From that point forward, Gladys was motivated to share the gospel and wanted to travel to China as a missionary.
She applied for the mission and got accepted at first, but was later rejected. However, Gladys did not let this hold her back. She continued to work as a maid to earn more money for a train ticket to China.
Gladys eventually saved up the amount she needed and planned to go help a missionary named Jeannie Lawson in China. Although Gladys was excited to finally go to China, she faced many obstacles and challenges on her journey.
One of the challenges that she faced was that there was a war going on between Russia and China. She was also put into a dangerous situation where she was even arrested for a short period of time.
Amidst these hardships, Gladys did not let that stop her from sharing the gospel. The article, Gladys Aylward, Faithful and Flawed, explains that she worked with Jeannie and even opened an inn with her. It was called the Inn of Eight Happinesses. Gladys showed kindness toward Jeannie and began to care for her when she became ill.
Gladys continued to work towards her passion of spreading the gospel one step at a time. She learned Chinese to be able to spread God's word to those around her, even converting many to Christianity.
In 1936, Gladys became a Chinese citizen and later on was offered a job as a foot inspector. Foot binding was not allowed anymore, so it was Gladys's job to make sure that the new rule was being followed.
Her new job allowed her to go around to different houses, and when she went to each and every house, she used that as an opportunity to share the gospel. Gladys even continued to house children of all ages that have been abandoned or were orphans.
Gladys started to see what she could do for these orphans. She took the inn that her and Jeannie had opened a while before, and they turned it into a place for the orphans to come.
Gladys cared for these orphans, and the children began to grow close with Gladys and like her. Around 100 orphans eventually came to live in the inn. She was nicknamed Awe Day, which means virtuous one.
In 1938, a war started where China was fighting Japan. Bombing had started, so Gladys had to figure out a way to help get all of the children out and to safety. The website Deeper Christian Quotes provides a quote from Gladys that states, "These are my people. God has given them to me, and I will live or die with them for Him and His glory." To escape, she decided to take the children through the mountain pathways.
Gladys was blessed to have been given food as well as soldiers for protection along her journey. She faced more challenges, however. They ran out of food, the children were tired, and they reached a river that they needed to cross, but there were no more boats there.
God continued to provide for Gladys and the children amidst these hard times. One night, a Buddhist priest offered to let them sleep in his temple. Some Chinese soldiers gave them food and guarded them while they were sleeping. Even a Chinese officer signaled boats to come and pick them up.
After 27 days, Gladys and the orphan children arrived safely in a nearby village. But something was off. Gladys collapsed to the ground with typhus and malnutrition. She took time off and eventually recovered.
In 1949, Gladys returned to Britain. She wanted to return to China, but it had become communist and it was too unsafe for a Christian missionary. Christianity had become illegal in China, and there was no way Gladys could return.
Gladys continued her missionary work, however. She preached the gospel in Britain. After being denied by the communist government, she stayed in Britain-controlled Hong Kong. She later settled in Taiwan.
While in Taiwan, Gladys founded the Gladys Aylward Orphanage and the Gladys Aylward Children's Home. Gladys majorly impacted the hearts of many. She even inspired many books and movies. The book The Small Woman was based on Gladys and her journey.
And later, the film The Inn of Six Happinesses was made surrounding Gladys. The movie raised money for her cause. Although she had a great impact, this film annoyed Gladys. It was incorrect and did not include all the aspects to Gladys's journey.
Gladys died in 1970 when she was 67 years old. Her life and mission, however, still influence people today.
An article by Leslie Aludi talks about Gladys's faith. What stood out about Gladys was how she trusted God through all of her struggles. She was not the smartest, the richest, or the strongest woman, but she knew that God would provide for her whatever she needed to spread the gospel.
Gladys once said, "If God has called you to China or any other place and you are sure in your own heart, let nothing deter you. Remember, it is God who has called you, and it is the same as when he called Moses or Samuel."
Gladys believed that no matter who you are, if you are called by God to go somewhere, you should go.
She is also said to have had a childlike faith. This is because she knew that as long as she was trusting in God, he could help her accomplish anything.
Another quote by Gladys is, "Oh God, here's my Bible, here's my money, here's me, use me, God."
This quote demonstrates how Gladys didn't have much, but she was willing to give everything she did have to trust God and allow him to use her to spread his word.
Gladys was celebrated for her everlasting praise and trust in the Lord. Through Gladys, many came to know the Lord. Gladys was a powerful, courageous, and resilient lady. Although her story is not well known, she is such an inspiration to many.